Hi, in this video we're going to be talking about how to make quizzes in Google Forms. But before we get started on that, I just wanted to show you the quiz settings because you might want to look at those before you start the quiz creation process. So when you're in a regular form, you could go to the settings and you can see your generic Google Forms settings. But to see the quiz settings, you need to turn this option on here to make this a quiz. But I don't want to do that on this kitchen remodel because it's not a quiz, it's just a survey form. So I'm going to go back to my forms here. I'm going to do a blank quiz, which you could find in the template gallery. Okay, so now that we have a quiz open here, I can go to the settings, and now you can see that the Make This Quiz is already enabled. So now you have some options here. So here's the release grades options here. So the default is to show them their score after they click on submit when they're done. And you could also have it set to manual review. So this comes in handy if you're doing questions where they need to type out like a paragraph for their answer. And obviously Forms is not going to be able to grade that, so you're going to have to grade that manually. So you could turn this on and then send them their grade after you actually physically grade it. Okay, then we have the respondent settings. So the first one here, missed questions. The respondents can see which questions were answered incorrectly. So as they go along, they'll be shown which answers were wrong. And then correct answers. The respondents can see correct answers after the grades are released. So this will show them their actual grade once the form itself has been graded. And then there's the point values. Respondents can see total points and points received for each question. So this will show them the available points for each question so they know the importance of each question. And then you could have the global quiz default. So the default point value for every new question, you could set that to whatever you like. So if you want to have every question be the same, you could just set this to say 10 points, and then it'll put that grade value on every question. Then you have responses to manage how responses are collected and protected. So you could have the do not collect, verified, and responder input for the email addresses. And then the next option is to send them a copy of their response, but that's going to require that you collect their email address because you need somewhere to send it. That's off by default. And so you can't change it, but if you change this to verified, then you have the option to have it when requested or always. And then allow response editing, so that means the response is going to be changed after being submitted. So if they change their mind and go back, they could go back and change their answers, and that's off by default. And then requires sign in, so if you want them to only take it once and sign in, you could turn this on. That way they can't take the test and then retake it again afterwards. And then you have the presentation options. To manage how the form and responses are presented, you could have a progress bar on the bottom so it shows them their progress as they're taking a test so they know how close they are to being finished. And then you could shuffle the question order, so if different people are taking it, they're not going to get the questions in the same order, so that might help with some cheating. And then you have your after submission options. So you have a confirmation message, your response has been recorded, and you could click on edit to change that to something else if you want to make it a little less generic. And then if you want to give them a chance to submit another response, you could turn this on, which is on by default. So then you have the view results summary, which will share the results summary with all of your respondents. That's turned off by default. And then disable autosave for all respondents is turned off by default, so that way they'll have to take the form all in one shot there. And then you have your defaults, so the form defaults. Settings apply to this form and new form. Collect email addresses by default is set to do not collect by default, and you could change that to one of the other options. And then question defaults, make questions required by default, that's turned off. So if you want them to have to answer every question and they can't skip anything, you should come turn this on. All right, so those are the settings for quizzes when you make a quiz in Google Forms. So you might want to go through those and check them out before you make an actual quiz. Okay, so now that we've gone over the quiz settings, it's time to create a quiz. So I left all the settings as the defaults, and we're just going to do a blank quiz, the same one that I started in the last video. So for this topic, we're going to do something really simple, like a chocolate chip cookie quiz. So I'm going to do various types of questions here. So I'm going to pause the video and add some questions here, then I'll show you how we could kind of fine-tune them to make them work the way we like. Okay, so now I have some questions added, so we'll go through them and kind of tweak them to make them work the way we want them to work. But before doing so, let's kind of spice things up a bit by adding a header image to our quiz. So if you recall, we go to the customize theme, then go to header, choose image. So let's go to food and dining and see if we have anything related to cookies, which apparently we don't. So thankfully I've created one already, so we're going to go ahead and upload it. My cookie quiz header image. And I already have it the right size, so I'll click done. So there we go. Okay, so now that we have our header image looking good, we're ready to go here. So then we have our topic, our quiz title, I should say, with a description. And so now let's adjust our answers to kind of make them work better for us. All right, so the first question is, which 2 ingredients are used in chocolate chip cookies? It's a checkbox multiple choice. So I want to make sure that 2 of the answers are selected because that's part of the question there. So I'm going to go here to response validation, select exactly 2, and then I can put an error. You must select at least 2 answers. And of course, you can make these all required as you go along too, if you didn't set that option in the master settings to make all questions required. All right, this next one here is a drop-down answer. So you can see there's not much we could do there, so we're going to leave that one as is. How long should cookies cool before eating? Once again, same thing, you can't do much with it. Okay, now for the short answer question, what ingredient chocolate chip cookie starts with a V? We're just going to have it be a short answer. We don't need the response validation because we're not going to put in anything about how many characters they could type in case they type the answer wrong or spell it wrong. All right, now how many cookies fit on each size pan? For this one, we're going to require a response for each row, so they're going to have to answer each row here, or pick an answer for each row from the column selections. And then also we will do limit 1 response per column, so they can't pick something in this column, like they can't pick 16 more than once because only 1 answer goes to 1 question here. And then upload a picture of your completed cookies. We're going to have this be an image only because we only want images, and only 1 picture to be uploaded, and maximum size of 10 megabytes. All right, so now we have our questions configured. Okay, so now that we have our answers configured correctly the way we want them to be, it's time to assign some points to our questions, and then also we need to provide the correct answers so Google Forms knows how to grade your quizzes. So if you would have gone into the settings and picked a default value for each question, it would have been added for you, but I didn't do that because I wanted to do specific point values for specific questions, so I have 0 points right now. So I'm going to go down to the first question, which 2 ingredients are used in chocolate chip cookies? I'm going to click on it, then I want to click on answer key, then I want to check the correct answers, which is butter and eggs, and then assign a point value. I'm going to make this 10. Then I could click on done. And then the next one is my drop-down question here. So I'm going to assign this one 5 points, make 375 the answer. And this one I'm going to add answer feedback. So this is used to give feedback on incorrect or correct answers or both. So if they get the answer wrong, I could enter some feedback here, like wrong. And you could also add a link to a web page or a video kind of explaining why they're wrong or why they're right. And then for correct answers, I'm going to put good job. Save this. So now you can see I have my answer, my point value, and my 2 feedback options here. So click done. All right, so now we're going to add the points for the how long should cookies cool. Let's do 5 for that as well. Let's do 30 minutes for the answer. Okay, so now for the short answer, we're going to put the correct answer here. Mark all other answers as incorrect. So if they don't put vanilla, it's going to mark it incorrect. We'll give this one 10 points. Okay, and now we have the question for how many cookies fit on each size pan. So we'll choose the correct answers here. So I'm just making this up, by the way. And we'll give it 5 points for each one they get correct here. So we'll say done. And and then add a picture of your completed cookies. So there's nothing we could do here except for add a point value. So let's make this 10 as well. And that's done. Okay, so now that it's done, we're going to go ahead and send it off to somebody so they could take our quiz. Okay, and then we'll go over to Cindy's email and check out the form. All right, so here's the chocolate chip cookie quiz. So we'll fill out this form. Okay, record the email address. Let's pick one right answer and one wrong answer. You can see we need to pick at least two. Let's pick the correct answer here. Let's pick the correct answer. Now let's pick the wrong answer here. Okay, let's pick the wrong answer here too. Vegetables instead of vanilla. And for this one, we'll do some wrong and some right. And then we'll add a file. We'll go ahead and upload one of the completed cookies. And then we'll submit. And you can click on View Score. So you can see which answers are wrong and which are right. Since they didn't get both right on this one, they get 0 points because they had to get both right. Here's the correct answers. Got this one right. Got some feedback. Good job. This one's wrong. This one's wrong, and it tells you the right answer. Vanilla instead of vegetables. And we got 2 of these right, so we got some points. And that tells you the correct answer for the one you missed. And then you'll notice you got 0 out of 10 points here, and that's because this one has to be graded manually. So now I'm going to go back and view my results and then grade this question for Cindy for the picture. Okay, so we have responses now. So we can see the summary, the average, the medium, and the range. So we can view a whole summary for all the questions here. And then we could also view them by the question itself. We have to just scroll through each one here. And you notice when we get to this one, we have one ungraded response, so we can look at her picture if we want. Okay, looks pretty good. Could be better. Let's give a 8 out of 10. Oh. Click on Save. Okay, so now let's go back to Cindy and check out her grades again. So you can see 10 out of 10, so it looks like my edit didn't change there. So let me put this back to 8. Save it. Now we'll refresh. I wanted to show you what happens when you don't do the full score here. It still shows us red like it's wrong, but you still get the points there because it only shows green if you're 100% correct there. So now if we scroll to the top, you can see she got a 23 out of 55, which is not very good for our cookie quiz. So as you can see, it's not too difficult to assign point values and correct answers to your questions. And just keep in mind for certain ones you're going to have to grade manually, like the photo upload. And if you do like a long paragraph reply, you're going to have to grade that yourself as well. And then you could just update their scores manually afterwards. And then you might want to refer back to the quiz setting videos so you could see how that works for sending them their grades. So if you don't want them to get their grades until after you check the questions that need to be manually checked, you could do that. Otherwise, they might get a little confused why they got a 0 out of 10 on the last one here, and then they'd have to come back and refresh it, and they might not know to do that. All right, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.